All right, this is a tutorial for your Works Cited page. Now remember, this Works Cited page, at least your rough draft, will be due on Mondays, so this is an important tutorial to pay attention to. All right, so I'm going to begin on my Canvas page. This is for Miss Torres's class. I know the other teachers for English 2, it will look a little bit different, but you'll be able to access those different requirements on any Canvas page that you check. So for mine, you'll find the research paper requirements. Y'all have this handout in class. Once again, you'll also be able to access this on your respective Canvas page. So I'm going to click on that so we can look at the formatting requirements. So in the previous tutorial that I just finished was the formatting of your research paper. Here we're just going to double check the formatting for the Works Cited page. And so this usually a lot of my students will do the Works Cited page on a completely different Word document and copy and paste it. So I'm just going to show you how to set that up and what that Works Cited page will look like. So the main things that we'll be looking at is the centering the title of your page, which is Works Cited, and that's it. Alphabetizing your citations and looking at the hanging indent for each citation. And these are a lot of areas where I've seen in the past where students lose a lot of points because they weren't careful and they missed some of these different elements. And so I'm going to show you how to make sure you don't miss them. So I'm going to go ahead and open a Word document. Once again, this is our student sample. And real quick, I'm going to scroll down to this Works Cited page. We have one full entry that was taken from ABC Clio. And so this is what your Works Cited page is going to look like once you're finished. And so you still have that page number on the top right. As you can see, this is a continuation of the research paper itself. When you turn in your rough draft Works Cited, you will just have that one page. So the numbering might be a little off. So make sure that you pay attention to it before you turn in your final copy. So you have your page number in the top right, regardless of whether or not this is your rough draft or your final copy, there will be a page number. Notice how the Works Cited title is centered, and that it's not taking on any other type of formatting. So it's still 12-point font, it's still Times New Roman, it's not bolded, it's not underlined, it's not any size bigger, it's just looking like the rest of the other words that you have there. So it looks like all these other words. So you're not doing anything special with the title Works Cited other than just centering it. And so as you can see, we have it centered. We still see it being double spaced like everything else that you have. This is the hanging indent. So you'll see that each citation will begin with either the author's last name if the article that you have has it. Sometimes it will begin with the title of the article or book referenced if there's no author. So just be aware of that. Don't be alarmed if yours doesn't have an author. And you'll use the first word to alphabetize your entire Works Cited page. So we see author last name, that A comes before B, so it's first. We have the hanging indent. So anything that goes to the second line that's a part of that citation will have a hanging indent, and I'm going to show you how to do that in your own paper if it isn't formatted correctly. And a good way to look at that real quickly is to the ruler at the very top. If you can't see the ruler, I want you to go to View, and you'll see right here, you'll just make sure it's clicked. So if I unclick it, I won't see any of my ruler. If I go ahead and click it, then it's there. And that's going to help you because these little arrows, which you've probably never used before, if I hover over that top arrow that's pointing up, that's the hanging indent, and that's how I'll change it back and forth. So as you can see, that second line is moving. And so I'm going to move it to that middle point in between this one and this one. There's a middle. And that'll be how you set your hanging indent for your entire paper. And so as you can see, that's for both citations. The second one, notice how the citation goes off to that second line. You need the hanging indent. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and open a brand new file. And so if you're familiar with setting up your formatting for your research paper, it's the same thing for the Works Cited. You want to make sure that that's all the same. That way when you copy and paste your Works Cited to your research paper, you don't have any issues. So I'm going to very quickly go through this. You want Times New Roman. You want 12-point font. You go to the paragraph or the spacing. Make sure that everything is set to 0 on here. So the spacing after each paragraph or each line, it'll be 0. Your line spacing is double and hit OK. So I know you're set up for that. Go ahead and double check. Make sure that layout, the margins are at 1 inch, and normally they will be. It's a default setting. Go back to home. Go ahead and set the page number on here. Once you copy and paste, it will transfer over, but it's just a good habit to get into. So insert page number, top of the page. We're going to pick page plain number 3. Type that in. you'll type your last name and a space, and then you're good to go. So the cursor will begin on the left-hand side. You want to center it. And don't forget your title is Works Cited, because that's exactly what you're documenting. You are documenting the works that are cited in your paper. Now be careful. I've seen people mess this up. They've changed the font, they've made it bold, underlined it, and they've had points counted off. So make sure that you are just keeping it simple, 12-point font, Times New Roman, and it's Works Cited, not cited works, not Works Cite. Make sure it is Works Cited. So you hit enter, and you're going to left align. Left align, and that's where you'll begin. And so I'm not going to type out everything. That's a lot of work. Y'all are going through ABC Clio, and it's giving you all those different citations. So I want you to use that. So you'll do a lot of copying and pasting from those different sources. So I'm going to go ahead and go to ABC Clio. And I already have an article pulled up, or at least a search pulled up. And this is a good point to point out different ways on this filter here. On this left-hand side, you can clarify different things you want to look for. So reference articles, biographies. You could keep it to documents, speeches, political, government, court documents, letters, and narratives. That can kind of help you narrow it down if you're having trouble searching for any topics. So let's go ahead and look. I'm going to just open this first link here under the Great Depression. So it actually shows you the keywords that you typed in. I typed in the Great Depression, and here it's showing me all the different keywords where it found that word or any of those words. So it's a pretty short article. If you found any good information, you're going to go under here where it says MLA citation, and that's what you're going to copy and paste. So this one looks like it's only about one line. We'll see if it actually does that on our Word document. So all you're going to do is, if I can kind of get that, you are going to copy. You could do Control-C, or you can do right-click copy. And then you'll go back to your Word document. So I'm going to go to this document 3, and you'll just paste. I'm going to do keep source formatting because it is going to keep that italics and some of the different elements that you need to have in your Works Cited page. We'll fix some of the formatting in the long run, because see, notice how it did change my font size. It did change my font in general. But that is going to help you in the long run, because it is going to keep that italics there for American history. And there's two ways you can go about it. You can go ahead and keep the formatting and change it. Always double check what yours looks like. And so I'm going to put these on each side of the screen here so you could take a look. So if you see here, Great Depression, American history, notice how it's italicized. So if you do mess up any of the formatting when you paste it over, just do this side by side, or click back and forth to make sure that it looks exactly as it's stated on this MLA citation here, because it goes right down to the quotations, the italics, the periods and punctuation, where if that's missing, then you will get points counted off for not having a correct MLA citation. So just double check that when you go in there. So I'm going to make this bigger here. And so I'm going to go ahead and change this right off the bat because it's making me a little nervous. So I'm going to change it back to Times New Roman, 12-point font, and then there we go. We already have it there. So we have Works Cited. We have this first citation. Notice how there is double spaced, and so that's everything perfect, with the exception of the hanging indent. So notice how it does go to that second line, so I need to take care of that. I need to have that hanging indent, or else I'm going to have points taken off my paper. So when you remember that ruler at the very top there. So at this ruler, we see these arrows. They're one right on top of the other. If you're unsure about which one to click, just place don't click anything, but just place your cursor over one of these. And I'm putting it over the arrow that's pointing up, or the triangle that's pointing up. And it says hanging indent. So that's the one you want to click. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to move it over midway right here in between the 1 and this starting point. And we have our first citation. So you have your first citation. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, so I know I'm going to start at the next one. It'll bring you all the way back here. And I'm going to go get another citation. That's still really small. So I'm going to go to another one. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to pull up a different one. Let's see, FDR and Eleanor. So we see one of our presidents. Another short article, and you might have to search quite a bit to find some articles with a little bit more heft to them. But we see our other citation, MLA citation. I'm going to go ahead and I'll eventually get the hang of doing that. I'm going to hit copy. I noticed that I don't have that first quotation in there. I'll change that once I get into my paper. But you're essentially copying and pasting back and forth. So paste, and I'm going to do keep source formatting because it will keep my italics. If you do end up just hitting this next one where it says keep text only, make sure that you have the correct italics, the correct punctuation there. And actually, you know what? I'm going to click it like that so that way you can see if you do click it, you'll know what to do. So by clicking keeping formatting or keeping true to the formatting that's on this page, it will keep the Times New Roman and the 12-point font. I'm going to add that quotation there because I didn't copy that. The only thing that we'll have to check is all the different italics, the different formatting that was there. So I'm going to place this on the left-hand side, go back and double check my citation. So I added that first quotation there that I didn't copy correctly. Everything looks good for FDR and Eleanor, but I noticed that this American history is italicized and it's not italicized in my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and find my italics right here, that I. Done. And then I'm going to double check the rest of it. ABC Clio, all caps, comma, 2018. I have a comma, American History.abcclio.com, search display, the number's correct, the date accessed. And as you notice, by keeping it with just the general formatting, it's already noticing and doing the hanging indent for you. All right, so now that you have 2 MLA citations on your Works Cited page, this is enough for your rough draft Works Cited. You'll have to get 2 more at least for your final draft. So make sure that you are continuing putting these different MLA citations every time you find a source that you are going to use in your paper. Also, as you can see, this is not in alphabetical order, so you want to make sure after you've pasted, you're going to change it and make sure that's in place in the correct order, because that is easy points that you can either lose or keep. And so an easy way to fix that, I always tell my students, go ahead, copy and paste all your citations. You could change the alphabetical order to the correct order after the fact. And one of the ways you can do that is just highlighting it. So I'm going to highlight this first one. It needs to go before the G. That F needs to go before the G. And all I'm going to do is click and then slide it over in front of that one. And we see it making that change there. FDR and Eleanor is before the Great Depression. And that's all you'll need to do for your Works Cited page. Once again, as always, if you have any questions about your Works Cited page, either for your rough draft or for the final copy, make sure you ask your teacher during class, after school during tutorials, or if they have morning tutorials, ask them in the morning, or you can send us a quick email asking about your Works Cited page.